So go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Amber. I will be your host. A little bit about myself. I have spent almost 20 years now in business and post-secondary education. So really using play attention in both of those environments. So I'm excited to share some additional knowledge with you all today. So again, today we're going to be talking about how do we reach more clients. So we have the content, we have our target, we're engaging them. How do we reach more of them? How do we take that 5 clients a day that we're seeing and turn it into 15? Because obviously when we can reach more clients, we can have that bigger return on investment. So we're going to talk about how play attention can help you with that today, how you can use play attention, your play attention, and using play attention to really expand that. And then remember, as I mentioned, Friday, we will be doing our Q&A. So any big questions you have, I have several that have been submitted to me. So thank you for the individuals that are submitting questions. You can email me those, you can put them in the chat box, you can do any of those pieces. So making sure that you have all of your questions answered. So we will address those tomorrow. So how do we reach more clients? So specifically, when we're talking about reaching more clients with play attention, there is a very specific method that we can use. Now, there's some variety in how we use that method, but there's a very specific product, and that is our Ilab, our distance training. So we're going to be covering that today, talking about different ways to use that. So even if you are a professional that uses Ilab, there are still some great pieces of information that you can take away from today to really expand that program and really help make sure that you're using it most effectively for your business. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Because when we talk about traditional play attention training, it's designed to do one-to-one, right? Where our clients are coming to us in our office, in our clinic, wherever that is, and we are working with one client at a time, right? So that is what play attention is designed to do. That is what our home program is. That's what it's designed to do. However, with our Ilab program, now you can expand on that. Our Ilab program allows you to do distance training, right? So now all of a sudden, and we've had our Ilab and distance training for many years, but a lot of our professionals started utilizing it during COVID, right? Because virtual was the way that everybody was meeting. So providing that virtual training so your client can be anywhere, there's no geographical constraint, and you are in another location and you're still continuing with that training. This allows you a bigger footprint. This allows you to work with clients that are maybe leaving the area. This allows you to work with clients that maybe are busy and travel often. Also, though, with our Ilab programming, not only does it allow us to do distance, it also allows us to do group. So depending on how many units you have, you can do 3, 4, 5 individuals at one time. So let's say you have 5 slots a day and you're designed to do one-to-one, right? So you're working with 5 clients. But now you have 5 slots and you have 3 systems. So all of a sudden, you've gone from working with 5 clients to 15. And that is a huge jump. I mean, it's more than doubling your client base on a day-to-day basis. And so this allows you some flexibility, and we're going to get into the ins and outs of it and the benefits of it and what that looks like for you. So that's what we're going to cover today. That's how we're going to reach more clients with play attention. We've found who we've wanted. We have started working towards building those individuals, and now we want to reach more of them. Sharon, I will touch on the cost difference between the two of them, but we'll get into a little bit first. And before we wrap up today, I will hit on the cost when we start talking about certified provider versus our Ilab program, because those are 2 totally different things, right? We have our Ilab program, which is designed to do the training, where our certified provider is providing you business and marketing materials. So we'll talk about the cost difference in that. So when we talk about our Ilab, again, we have the ability to train in your lab or in distance. And so when we go into the Ilab program, it's not one or the other. It's not like you have to choose, okay, I'm doing Ilab virtual only. No, you have the opportunity where you can do group or you can do virtual. And so you can have some clients that are doing virtual, some clients that are still coming in to see you and doing that group. It really depends on what that client is looking for. And that's really what makes Play Attention unique, because you have the opportunities to train several different ways. Therefore, you can put some different funding or different packages together depending on what that individual wants. Do they need to come see you every single session? That helps keep them accountable. Or are they the kind of person that says, it's so hard for me to get to that training, getting to your office, the traffic, leaving work, all of those different pieces. I'd rather meet with you at home, right? Or I want to do some training at home and then you and I will engage only once a week. So we're going to talk about how and the different ways that we can do that, because the iLab does provide you with a lot of flexibility, with that ultimate goal, though, of reaching more individuals. So here's an example of group training, right? So 2 individuals here in this picture, both of them doing their individual Play Attention sessions. Now, when we're working with iLab, you'll have one individual that can manage both of these. So you don't have to have, if you're all of a sudden doing 3, 4, 5 individuals, or 2, like in this picture, you don't have to have a person for each of those individuals. That's what makes the iLab so unique, because you have one individual, and with your iLab licensing, they have access to everyone that's training at one time. So it networks them together and allows there to be that main coach, and you have access to all of the data real time. So if you have a student, maybe you have 5 students instead of just the 2, like on the picture here, and all of a sudden one of them, their attention drops all the way down to 0. That's going to flag you, and that way you can visually see, did they take their armband off? Is something going on? Or vice versa, if they hit 100%, because remember that sheer genius is always adjusting that attention algorithm for them. So at 100%, what's going on? What are they doing here? And so you can also see as they're going, you see all of that data, and it's provided to you, and you have a dashboard as well. And so with distance training, so obviously, if I just back up one more and kind of, again, show you the difference between those. So this would be an environment where individuals are right there with you. They're physically in your presence. You can actually see them. You can communicate with them right there in person, and you can see their data. Now, if we talk about the distance training aspect of it, you're going to have everything like you would have if they were right there beside you, but it's going to be virtual. So you'll need them to have an internet connection. So they're obviously going to need to be connected to the internet, and them having a camera on their computer is going to be beneficial for you as well, because when they have a camera, you have that visual of them. So remember, with our Play Attention program, one of the pieces is that behavioral shaping input, right? So we can track their behaviors. We can start to set goals on them. We can guide them through the process of being aware of their behaviors and understanding that they can start to regulate those self-distracting behaviors, the fidgets, the frustrations, the chewing on their nails or objects. And so if a camera is present, not only can you have video communication with them, so you're starting your session, you see them kind of like Zoom, right? Having that video communication, but then also you can continue to monitor them while they do their training, so you can continue to use that behavioral shaping tool just like you would in person, right? You're going to be able to see their data in real time. You're going to be able to have voice, basically phone, chat, all of that options are going to be available to you, and it's housed within the Play Attention system. You don't have to have a third party. It's all housed in that Ilab program. So all in one, you have that ability to do that distance training as long as they have their body wave armband, as long as they have their software, they have a computer that has access to the internet. You're going to be able, they can be anywhere. Again, there's no geographical constraints to that. You're going to be able to do that training with them. And that really opens a lot of doors for individuals, for professionals, because you have now maybe a market that was only so big. Now your market is, there's no constraints on that market. You can really reach a lot of other individuals. Maybe now you gear towards professionals. Maybe you've worked with a lot of families and things like that. And now you want to branch out to professionals, because this is a great way to connect with them, because they're busy. They don't want to travel. Maybe they're in a city that there's a lot of traffic, or they do travel a lot, right? They travel a lot for business. And that's the great thing with Play Attention. You have a laptop, and you have your body wave armband, you're able to do that training wherever. So this gives your students the ability to work and commute from home, right? So now all of a sudden that distance is, they can do that training. So what are the benefits of it, right? How does it add value? Now, many of you probably are very familiar with what virtual has added value, right? Because I remember doing our iLab presentations for our professionals prior to the pandemic. And then it was the wave of the future, right? There's been a lot more telehealth even before the pandemic, but that really actually fast forwarded kind of where we are. So lots of us are either working from home now on a regular basis. We're doing a hybrid. Most of our appointments are going to a virtual option. There are a lot that are still in person, or you have the option, right? So the wave of the future, this is very, very common. People are very comfortable with this type of environment now. Now more than ever, we understand the extent of the capability, right? We understand how much more access we have using a distance version, right? Individuals are more comfortable with it now. For individuals that didn't use Zoom prior to the pandemic, they're using Zoom all of the time and they're very familiar with it. Teams, that's another big program that has been used. And again, our Ilab program really expanded with our professionals because it was a way for them to continue with their business. There was no break in them seeing clients. It's a time saver. It's a time saver for you. It's a time saver for your client because it helps with the day-to-day and it helps with travel. So basically, when you are connecting with an individual virtually, they obviously don't have to travel. If you travel, we have some professionals that were going directly to their clients. They would travel to their clients, and that has stopped their travel. But also just your day-to-day. It gives you flexibility of where you're connecting from. Maybe you're not in the office every day. Maybe you don't have an office anymore. You've transitioned into only virtual. It helps with the appointments that you have availability, because when we're having in-person appointments, we do have to build in a little bit of buffer just in case somebody's late or there's a no-show. We do know with virtual, no-shows go down significantly because there's not all of those extenuating circumstances that causes them to not show up for their appointment, right? Still holds a very personal aspect. So yes, you are not in the same room. You are not right there together. However, you still have that very personal connection because you're connecting with them over video. You're seeing all of their data in real time. You can still do their behavioral shaping, and you can still have your follow-up after they do their training, right? And you're still ensuring that they're getting their training done. You're still providing them that support as they go through. There's a variety of platforms available, right? So that is huge when we're talking about distance learning. Now, there are so many different ways, but again, we can combine this all in one. So many people have a laptop now, right? And so now we can use this as we go through. Society is more at ease with technology. Again, we were already making that wave to the future, right? But now individuals are so much more comfortable with technology because of what we've experienced the last 2 years, and technology is more accessible. Like I said, there's so many people that have a desktop or a laptop at home. Before, it used to be that not all computers were equipped with cameras and microphones. Now they are. That's a standard that comes with computers, especially if we're dealing with a laptop. Laptops have more memory, they're running more options. And so now there is so much more access to technology than before. So prior, besides your student needing an iLab student station, and we'll discuss that, all they need is their computer to run that play attention on. Benefits for your client: it saves them time. They're not spending the time driving to you, driving home, those different pieces. Now they just click on, right? Before, you had to be 20 minutes early to an appointment, and then maybe you had a 20-minute drive, or maybe you hit traffic and so it was an hour drive, or maybe you're in an area, a rural area, and clients have to come an hour to you. And so this will help with that because maybe it's really, really hard for them to travel to you twice a week, an hour one way. So now 4 hours a week, all of a sudden they don't have that anymore. No commuting struggles or costs associated with travel. So again, goes back to not only saving time in the day to day, but again, the time with the travel. The commuting is no longer necessary, the cost associated with that, the I don't have a vehicle, or it's really hard for me to get out of work, or all of those different excuses or barriers, right, that were happening before are now no longer present. There's no geographical limit. So I've mentioned that several times. That is a huge thing. I have professionals in the United States that work with international clients because, again, as long as the clients have the materials they need, the equipment they need, they can have those training periods. Exposure to illness is reduced. That is why during the pandemic we went to virtual, right? Because we weren't in that personal space. Now, a lot of individuals, again, have chosen to stay in that virtual environment. Some are doing a hybrid, right? They're in a few days, they're out. I know some professionals we work with, they'll go in the office 1 or 2 days a month, and then they have other services in their office that they're pay attention. They'll do 1 or 2 days a month, and then the rest of the time they're doing virtual. So it gives you that inability, and not just with COVID, just, winter would come, educators that I have on the webinar, that when school starts, a bug will go through the school and people will get sick. And so there's not as much of that exposure happening. Still able to work with a professional in the comfort of your own home. And that is why, Play Attention is offered as a home program as well as a professional program. Professional program is about 40% of our business model because a lot of our clients want to work with a professional. They need that support, they need that accountability. Plus, many of our professionals are adding value, right? They're therapists, they're counselors, they're coaches. And so they're providing not only the Play Attention program, but they're providing the additional value. So now this client can get the value of Play Attention, but they're getting other services as well, but they're still getting them in the comfort of their own home. So lots of benefits for clients. Benefits for you. I think that's important, right? When we talk about sales and talking about, growing and doing all of those pieces, we have to share with individuals how it benefits them. Same thing when we're talking here, the ability to continue to practice now, right? Regardless of what's going on, regardless of the changes in environment, even winter comes, right? For individuals that live in a climate that they see a lot of snow and they see a lot of bad weather, that can prevent us from meeting with our clients, right? When, we live in the mountains of North Carolina up near the Tennessee border. And because of the mountainous areas, if they're predicting that we're going to get ice or snow, a lot of offices will close ahead of time for safety. This allows individuals to continue to practice. There's no constraint there. It's going to lower your overhead. You cannot have a facility any longer, right? That's a huge overhead cost. Maybe you don't have as much staff as before because you're managing more. So it's going to lower your overhead costs. It provides you with flexibility. You now can connect with them. Not only can your clients be anywhere, but you can be anywhere as well. So maybe you need to travel, right? So maybe you're traveling for a conference and some information, you can still book clients in that time. And so you're not missing out on that as you go forward. No need to travel or having a physical office. Play Attention is a very low cost to get started as a business. And this helps even more because now you don't have to have a physical location to be doing your training. You can be doing it at home. Your clients can be in another area, and it provides you that flexibility. Again, exposure to illness is reduced, decreases no-shows and cancelizations. And so I mentioned that earlier. So when we're working as a provider that individuals are coming to us, there are going to be no-shows. People are going to cancel, right? Something's going to come up. The weather's going to be bad. They're going to be sick. They just forget, right, to come. Those we know across the board, when a virtual option is added, that reduces significantly the amount of no-shows and cancelizations that are happening for those appointments. It's going to advance your business model as well, because now you're working with a multitude of individuals. Now, a lot of these benefits are obviously coming from the distance learning, but you could also advance your business model by doing that group environment as well. Now, obviously, you're still going to have that a little bit more of the overhead. You maybe won't have as much flexibility, but that one appointment that you were putting one person in and they no-showed, now you have five people sitting in that appointment slot. So if one person doesn't show, you still have four people you're training, right? So it's advancing that business model for you. It's growing you. It's giving you that ability to have that growth. So when we provide practical solutions and value added, it's really helping us, again, meet more clients. We're providing training of executive function skills, right? So we're still doing that core of what we want to do, okay? So it doesn't change what our mission is and what we're actively doing on a day-to-day basis. We're still providing that executive function training. We're just doing it with several individuals at one time or in a distance environment. You still, with Ilab, you still have the ability to customize your curriculum. So that doesn't go away. You still have the ability to create that individual's program. You have the ability to make adjustments to their program. You can still do that behavioral shaping. It can be added to an existing business model, right? So you already have maybe a counseling office. You already have an OT. You're an OT and you work in an office. You already do life coaching, right? You want to add this in as an additional item for your clients, where if they want to take it a step further, this is a value added to that. Again, flexible scheduling. It allows you that ability. You don't have to have all of these, because now instead of that one-to-one, you either are doing a multitude or you have flexibility of who you're working with. That area all of a sudden has grown. That target market that we were looking at specifically in our city now has grown. We can search outside. Now maybe that social media marketing really becomes beneficial for us, because now we can connect with numerous individuals. We're not so confined to that specific area. Independent and live coaching available. So what this means is with our Ilab program, and this is specifically if you're doing that distance training, you can work directly with your client like you would do in a one-to-one basis in person. So you both log on together, you're available there while they do their training. You're doing live coaching with them. You're helping them. They're struggling through a piece. You're telling them to take their deep breaths like normal. Or you can incorporate independent training. So what that would look like is you have a client that is training 3 days a week. Okay. So remember, we're always working towards that hour of training per week, which can also make it difficult for somebody to come to your office, right? If they generally, our professionals do twice a week for 30 minutes, because 30 minutes is kind of about the max that we do in one sitting. And so it only requires the client to come twice a week, which is still very difficult to fit into their schedule. And so now we can break up their training a little bit. We can say 3 times a week for 20 minutes, 4 times a week for 15 minutes, and providing them some independence with their training. We can offer a package where, let's say they're doing 3 training sessions a week, 2 of those they're doing on their own. So maybe Monday and Wednesday, they're doing their training, they're logging onto their system, they're doing their training completely independently. You're not there, you're not available. You can always go in and see their data. That's always going to be available to you, just like it would be in the one-to-one program. But then on Friday, you have an appointment where you're either going to do live coaching or you're going to connect and review their data for them. So it gives you that flexibility as well. You don't have to meet with them every single time they do the training. You can spread their training that hour out a little bit more and give them a little bit more flexibility in the week. And then you connect to them at a specific time. It's a time saver. Again, it's saving us time because it's allowing us more flexibility in what we do, and the foundation is still being built. We're still building that foundation. We're still strengthening those executive function skills. We're just doing it in a different type of environment. So when we talk about the different packages available for our professionals, and this is Sharon, where I'm going to get into a little bit of the pricing, and I'm going to talk about, we're going to break down some different return on investment so you can see. I think this will help some individuals that are here with us that are professionals, that are doing one-to-one, professionals that have some iLab, professionals that are certified professionals. This is really going to give you a good picture of how this is going to affect your business. So our basic package is all play attention sessions are independent with weekly virtual coaching. So these are some options that you have available that you can provide. So once you're in the Ilab program, you have the Ilab licensed software and you're starting to have student stations. This is the basic package. My client is working virtually. They're doing all of their sessions independently. And then once a week, we meet to review. I kind of alluded to that in the last slide that we talked about. So number one, the basic package. You're going to do your training independently, but we're going to connect virtually once a week, and we're going to review your data, and we're going to talk about your sessions, right? Mid-level packaging can mean I'm doing one live play attention session. So that means me as a client, I'm working directly with my professional one time a week. We're logging on together. I'm doing my training while they are there, observing me, coaching me, providing me feedback. And then I'm going to do one independent. So I'm on a twice a week for 30 minutes type of training scenario. One of those I'm doing with my coach live. The other one I'm doing all on my own. And then my coach and I meet another time in the week and we review, we do our coaching. Okay, so that's kind of a mid-level. It's giving them a little bit more support of a little bit more of your time. So obviously these are going to look different when you price them, but it does give your clients a lot of flexibility in what they want to do. And they can always start like, oh, I'm going to do it independently. And then if they don't do it independently, it gives them the option to kind of add some additional support in. So our top level package would be all live play attention sessions with virtual coaching. So every single session you do, you're connecting to your coach or your client is connecting to you, right? So every single session, whether I'm doing 4 sessions a week, 3 sessions a week, 2 sessions a week, whatever that looks like, I'm doing that with my coach. So you're meeting with that client, and you're going to have some clients that are going to want to do that top level. They know they need the support. This is very common with our adults. They need that support. They don't have that support network. They don't have that safety net. They need that support. They need that accountability, and they're looking for you for that. That's that value added that they're looking for. And they're willing to pay a little bit more for that because they're going to start to see those changes as they do the training. Now, with all of these packages, your clients will need a student station. A student station includes that body wave armband, because remember, they need that body wave armband to do the training, and it will provide them software available so they can do all of their training, okay? Now, there's 2 options here, and you'll see this as we start talking about the reviewing of the return on investments when we review that. But you will see that some of our professionals will lease the equipment. So they'll purchase that student station and they'll lease that equipment to their client to use during that time frame. Because remember, we're looking at about 8 months to a year for an individual to go through that program. So they're going to charge a leasing fee. And then at the end of their training, that equipment comes back to the professional and they can reuse that. So they can use that equipment again. I have some professionals that will have the client purchase the equipment necessary, and then that client will just own it. I even have a professional that will do a buyback program. So they will require their client to purchase the equipment, and then at the end, they buy it as a discount, and then they use that again in their program, whether they're using it in office or. So there's a lot of options here that we have available to us, okay? So when we start talking about the Ilab program and we start talking about the upfront investment, so the upfront investment is going to look different depending on where you're at in your play attention business. You have to at least have one professional play attention system, that program, right? So you have your software, you have your body wave armband. Remember, the cost on our professional program is $2,495. Okay. If you've already purchased that, excellent. You've got checked. That first box is checked. But if you do not have that, that is your first step in the program. You purchase that professional program. Then remember, because we're doing iLab and we're doing it all housed in one program, you will purchase the iLab licensing software. That's $399. That contains everything you need to do that training, whether it's group training or virtual. So you have the ability to do talk, text, video, see their data in real time in a group environment, network all of those programs together so I can see all of the data at one time, right? So that provides us, that's a one-time fee. Once you purchase that software, you have it, you can continue to put individuals into your program. Now, when you're working, whether you're working as a group individual or distance training, every student you're working with, remember, needs to have that body wave armband and the software available to them, right? So if you're working at a distance, that client will need to have a student station. Each student station is $1,995. So it's discounted from that professional. And so they have to have that. Now, you can, in group training, how many ever student stations you have is how many you can train at one time. So if you have 5 student stations in your professional student station, you could train 6 at one time. If you have 3 student stations in your professional, you could train 4 at one time, right? So you have that opportunity depending on what that looks like, but every single one. Now, in a group environment, that student station can be used multiple times a day. So if you have 3 stations total, you can use those 3 stations 5 times a day if you want, 6 times a day, depending on how many slots you have open for your timing, okay? Same with your distance training. They need that student station, but again, it can depend. You can purchase that student station and lease it to them during that time, and then it comes back to you and you can use it again. Or they purchase that student station as part of their package. They keep that at the end, okay? So that puts some pricing on things because that's gonna be really beneficial when we start talking about return on investment. So number 1, here is, I have one system and I'm working virtually, okay? So that system, that's counting that one system you purchased, right? That one, if you have one professional system and you have one individual that you are gonna be working with virtually and you don't wanna use that system with anyone else, you can use that as an iLab once you have that software. However, remember, if you send out that body wave armband, you can't do anything in-house, but you do have the opportunity to do that with your first system. So the cost on that is the $2,495. Your coaching software, remember, is that one-time fee of $399, comes to a price of $28.94. Okay, so there's 2 scenarios we broke down here. So scenario 1, I meet with the individual twice a week, one time live, one time they do on their own. Okay. Number 1, right off the bat, I am charging them $150 a month for leasing the equipment. So this is a lease, they're leasing the equipment, $150 a month goes towards that lease. Now, the great thing about that is when you're leasing, when you're charging a fee for leasing, you're paying off that system quick. And by the time you use it with your second client, that system's already paid off, but you can charge that lease again. So you're bringing in funds for that equipment for wear and tear, just doing that fee on there. Now, these are fees that we see from our clients out in the field that they use that are received very well. You can adjust these. You can adjust these. We are not putting any standards on fees for you that you are charging, but this is what we see in the field. This is what we see works. Because most of our professionals, their clients are self-pay. They're paying on their own. And these are the amounts that we see that they're on a consistent basis. They're working with clients with these amounts. So $150 right off the bat a month for leasing, plus $50 a week for that one live session. Remember, they're doing 2 sessions, one live, one on their own. So I'm charging them $50 for that live session. Now, you can charge 30, you can charge 40, you can charge 50, but we see 50 is about, that's about the average that we see. We have some that charge a little bit more, some that charge a little bit less, but that's kind of that average we see. So if I'm charging $150 a month for my equipment, and I'm charging $50 a week per week for that one session, you are bringing in from this one client $350 per month. That means if we look at the $28.94 total investment in 8.5 months, you will have paid off that initial investment. Anything after that will be profit. Okay. So you'll probably most likely still be training that client when you start to turn a profit on that. So it's a very quick turnaround, and that's just with one. So here's our scenario where you're actually going to be able to pay it off quicker if you're doing 2 live sessions. So now I'm still charging my leasing fee of $150 per month, but I'm working with them twice a week at $50 per session. So I'm working with them twice a week. This is that top tier, right? They want me twice a week, both times they're doing their training. That's going to be $50 each session. So that means $100 a week I will be charging them for their coaching time. So now you're bringing in $550 a month for that client, and your investment now is turned back in just 5.5 months. So you can see where having some different packages in some cases can bring that investment back a lot quicker. So you're about halfway through the program, maybe a little bit less in that scenario where you're going to be bringing that money back. So that's strictly virtual. So now let's look at virtual again, but with 2 systems. Because yes, you have a bigger investment on 2 systems because you have that pro system, right? You have that first pro system, you have the software cost, and you have a student station, right? So now I'm putting in a little bit more. So my total investment is $4,889. However, now I'm working with 2 individuals a month, right? So now I'm doubling what I'm doing. And even though my investment up front is higher, I'm getting that return faster because I'm working with more clients, right? Again, when we expand that niche clientele, that client that we know works, that target client that we're working at, when we expand that, we're going to have that higher return on our investment. We're going to turn into that profit a lot faster. So in this scenario, again, I'm charging $150 for both of them, right? For that cost. 1 session a week. Again, same scenario, just 2 individuals now. So now $700 a month, my investment's back in 7 months instead of 8, right? If I'm doing 2 live sessions, it's going to be even faster. So if both of those clients I have are doing live sessions, in 3.5 months, I'm going to have my almost $5,000 in initial investment returned to me. So again, very quick when we're working with them in an environment that allows us to do more with them. Now I have a client that maybe before it was a struggle to get them to the office once a week, that they're like, oh no, I love this. Twice a week, that's no problem. I'll do that. Or yeah, once a week, and then I can do one on my own. So even in that scenario, you're still getting that return on investment before the end of that individual's term of their program. Okay. Now let's look at 3 systems, because of course, as we add more, yes, our initial investment, but we're returning that investment. So even though we're putting in almost $7,000 when we work with 2 student stations and our regular, now we have 3 individuals we're working with, in just 6.5 months, we get that return on investment, right? And if they're doing live in just 4 months, just half of a month longer, when I work with 1 additional client in that live scenario, I'm getting that return. And so again, you can see where this comes from. So now let's talk a little bit about group, because that's a little different scenario than if we were talking about that virtual. Because again, remember with that virtual option, you can always have that $1,995 investment go have your client purchase that, right? So in my scenarios, me as a professional, I was purchasing them and I was charging a lease fee. You can take that out of there and just charge them for the sessions and have them pay for that up front for that system. So you don't have that initial cost. Now, you're also not going to receive that profit eventually, but you're going to have the client purchase that. You don't have to do a lease agreement, and you don't have to have that in your investment. So that's always an option. And I do have a lot of professionals that use that option. That's built into their package. If the individual wants to do virtual, then they're responsible for purchasing the student station along with the fees that are associated with the coaching. Okay. Let me know if there's any questions on that, and I can address that as we go forward. So let's talk a little bit about group training. So here I have my group training too. I've got two systems. So every time I do training, I have the ability to train two individuals. So I have one session, one group a week. So I work with one group a week, and I am just working, and I'm making $250 a student, $200 a week. That's an $800 a month investment I'm getting from that instead of the one, right? And so now so I'm just working with two individuals once a week. That is in almost 6.5 months, I'm returning them. So now I take those two stations and I work with two groups a week, right? So now I'm working with 4 clients. All of a sudden, I'm doubling my income just by adding that additional system in there. Now, all of a sudden, I've cut my time in half. And so that is where I'm, again, working with 2 clients. I have maybe 4. This is even more than this, because two times a week, that's not even that big of you're not having to even go into the office every single day with that situation. But let's say you did your 2 sessions 4 times a week or 4 times a day. So now all of a sudden I've doubled it again, right? So it's so easy once you have that investment to turn that around. And that is a benefit of group. Now, of course, you have to look at your market and you have to see, do I have numerous individuals that will come twice a week to my center, to my office to do this group training? Would they be comfortable doing group training? Or is my clientele base going to look more for that distance learning, right? So you have to, again, know your market, understand who you're working with, because when you expand, you want your expansion to work for that group that you've nurtured, that you've built, right? So here is if I did 3 systems, 4 systems. So again, I'm looking just at it. Of course, as I go into 3 systems, 4 systems, I'm of course, multiplying my investment because I'm purchasing more. But you can see when I'm working with that amount of systems just twice, 2 groups every week, I'm cutting my investment down to less than 3 months, and I'm paying for that. So if I can get those groups to come in just within that first 3 months, I am paying for my systems, and then everything else I do with these groups are profit. Or do I add another one in, right? And increase as I go forward. So there's a lot of opportunity here as you're looking at Ilab to really take that one-to-one and grow it. You're still working with that same group that you're working with, but now you can work with more. And this is really great if you have a waiting list. If you have individuals that come in and say, I really love this, but I just can't commit to that coming in that time. Oh, this is really great, but we're getting ready to go on summer break. Or, oh, this is really great, but school's starting. These are all answers to those barriers that you may experience as a professional. Okay. So it's time to maximize your time and reach more clients. That's what we're doing here. We're maximizing your ability here, your time, and in that, you have that ability to reach more clients. Now, Sharon, specifically your question was, how does this professional and certified provider differ? So so it's a little bit different than the question you're asking here. So we have professional play attention, right? So our professional play attention program is for you to work with as many clients as you want. So remember, our professional program has unlimited user licenses. You can work with as many clients as you want, but our professional system is designed to do one-to-one training. So you're working with one client at a time, you're physically together, okay? Then you have the opportunity, which is what we talked about today, to grow into that Ilab program. And so the Ilab program allows you to either work with a group of individuals or distance training, right? And you can do a group two times a week and have some on distance training. It's just how many ever student stations you have. So you have that opportunity. That's where the investment that I talked about earlier is going to come from. You have your professional system that you've been doing one-to-one. You purchase the iLab software, which is $399, and then each student station you purchase to work with a student is the $1,995. The certified provider, which we've covered a lot this weekend, is different. The certified provider is available for our professionals, whether they do iLab or the one-to-one. And with our certified provider, we are providing you with business and marketing content. So you can take your business to the next level, you can grow your business, and you have all of the marketing available. Okay, so different in what you're doing. So today, what we're talking about is the actual play attention system and how you can use that to grow. The certified provider pieces I discussed earlier in the week were geared towards marketing, building that target audience, generating leads, so the business aspect of your play attention program, as well as the marketing piece. So a certified provider, if you want to be a certified provider, that can be done at any time. And so our certified providers have access to the portal, all of their business materials, marketing materials, and then they get the new marketing every single week. What we talked about today is our iLab program, and you don't have to be a certified provider to do our iLab program. You can do that. Just if you're a play attention professional that's using iLab, but you're not a certified provider, we're not providing you with that marketing or that business guidance. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. So I covered a lot of numbers today, right? Lots of numbers. If you are interested in a specific scenario of how you kind of break that down, how you would look at that return on investment, please let me know what that is. We can kind of cover those numbers a little bit more tomorrow if you would like, or I could send you something individually, or we can have a phone call. So just let me know. Those are they were specific numbers, and they're kind of that average that we see from clients, but everybody's business looks different, right? And so allowing that, and then what value are you adding on top of that, right? So that might look different for you as you go forward. So if we need to talk about numbers more tomorrow, we can definitely cover that. I'm more than happy to help you with that piece. If you're looking at, okay, I want to grow, but how quickly am I going to be able to return my investment on that? Definitely, we can talk through that. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking, I'm going to hit on all of those questions and answers. I have a lot actually right now. We've got at least a good half hour of questions and answers we're going to cover. So attend. If you've been attending so far this week, tomorrow is still going to be a very valuable day for you, because there may be a question you didn't even think about, right? That somebody has already asked that we're going to be covering. If you're interested in learning more about your professional options, you can request a consultation. So you can type consultation in the chat box. We will reach out to you. We will schedule that consultation with you, whether it's a consultation on starting play attention, a consultation on going to the iLab program, a consultation on our certified provider, or all of the above. We're there to help you answer all of those questions specifically for you. If you want to learn more about the iLab features, if you want to see, we have a really great webinar that we have hosted in the past that will go into all of the specifics about iLab. So it will talk about all of the features that are available to you, how it works, what it looks like. So if you're interested in the iLab features specifically, type in iLab, and I will send you over that webinar recording so you have access to that. It is a really great tool we provide professionals, because it really gives you that hands-on, without being hands-on, understanding of what iLab really has the capability of doing. It's really a fabulous program, and it provides you a lot of flexibility, but still very personal. And out of the box, yet customizable. That's what we always strive for here at Play Attention, making things very easy to use, but very customizable, right, as we go forward. So I don't see any questions yet other than what I answered for Sharon. If there are any more questions, please go ahead and put those in the box. Again, I'm so thankful for the time that you've spent with me this week. I know an hour, even, I mean, we only it's only been about 50 minutes today, but even 50 minutes in your busy week is really, that's hard to do. So thank you so much for attending, for joining us. We hope that what we brought you this week was really helpful in your building your Play Attention business. Again, remember, tomorrow we're going to be covering those questions and answers. If you want a consult, please type that in. If you want that Ilab reporting that talks about the features, go ahead and type in Ilab. If you have any other questions, you can always email me. We will hit on those tomorrow. Again, look out for the replays that we have been sending out. You should, by the time we get off today, you should probably see that the one from yesterday where we talked about engagement. Tomorrow after our Q&A, you'll get this one, and then we will send out the Q&A one as well. We'll follow up with that next week. If you need anything at all, please reach out to us. If you've requested something, watch your email for that, or we will be giving you a phone call on that. So thank you again for your time, and I look forward to connecting with you one more time tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.